Welcome to this completely unnecessary podcast for Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, 1919. That's Ian Ferguson.
That's me.
I'm plucky Pat Contry. We got stuff to talk about. We'll be talking about Google Stadia's launch being a little messy. Talking about the Sonic 3 prototype being found. We'll talk about Japan's arcades dropping in number. Expensive NES games starting to slide with evidence, maybe. Some other stuff going on. Q&A, Patreon poll. Ian, you have a nice weekend?
I did. My weekend was pretty simple. I watched all 4 episodes of the new Toys That Made Us with Vonnie.
Season 3.
Yeah.
It's edutainment, Ian.
Yes. So yeah, the 4 episodes, all 4 were good. There was one on wrestling toys, My Little Pony, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Power Rangers. And I thought all 4 were well done. It continues to be one of the few shows on toys that I can actually watch. I don't have a lot of interest in toys or toy collecting. I didn't have a ton of like action figures growing up. I get excited when I see new Voltron stuff come out these days, but that's about it. Yet Toys That Made Us always kind of manages to grab me because it's not about collecting. It's not about variants and stuff like that. They give you some of that information here and there, sure. But it's about how the toys were actually made. And not all the people are always likable. I mean, a lot of these, a lot of the people they're talking to are they're advertising people, is essentially who a lot of these people were who made the toys. But it's an interesting story all the same. And
there's conflicts between the personalities.
There's conflicts, and I always really enjoy each episode. It was a show I never would have watched because it just seems so far outside of my general realm of interest.
Really?
Except for when I was sick, Vonnie was watching it the one day, and I came in during the Lego episode, and I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic!"
That was a great episode.
Yeah, I went back and watched the ones that I missed, and yeah, we've kept up on it since. It's a great show.
Yeah, our pal Andre Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy, had some appearances in Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles one, and yeah, it's been a great series. It started off with, He-Man and G.I. Joe and Barbie. The Barbie one was fascinating in the first season. There's been 12 episodes over 3 seasons because that's straight out 2 people feuding who created Barbie, the guy or the woman. And that was like a chunk of that, talking about that. And that happens a lot because when you work with these toy companies, you have the managers, you have the designers, you have people that are artists, and it's usually a collaborative effort. But at the end of the day, someone's probably like, "Oh, I was the main thrust to do that," and then it happened with My Little Pony. You had the guy created the My Little Pony basically predecessor. What was it called?
My Pretty Pony.
My Pretty Pony, which looks like My Little Pony, but it's bigger,
chunky, very
brown.
Hard. Yeah,
but that's what the woman. I love that woman that quit before it came out because she's like, I want real looking ponies because she liked horses and she was all snooty about it. And then she leaves, and then she takes credit for semi creating it. So it's great because people are adamant, no, he created it or she created it, and they make it fun. They don't make it like vitriolic. They make it sort of a fun back and forth the way they edit it.
Yeah,
it's not super combative, but you can tell there's tension.
No, you can tell there's definitely some tensions there. But I think for a lot of those people, it really is, it's just a job.
My Pretty Pony is gigantic. Look it up on eBay. It's like a My Little Pony except like brownish, and it's like a foot tall. It's like it's gigantic.
Yeah, it's humongous.
And then then it went into they go into the background of the media, with the cartoons and the comic book stuff for all these properties. So you get a good history. Like the Ninja Turtle ones was almost like half had nothing to do with the toys, half the episode. It more had to do with the creation of the comic, the licensing deals. They got that advertising guy, that hustler that got in there
with fifth turtle
with no experience, but helped them market it and get it out there. It's great. It's great to see those stories like that. That's usually how this stuff happens. It's not, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's some luck. And no, it's a fantastic show. And in disclosure, I was contacted potentially because the producers, at one point at least, were thinking about doing a Nintendo episode, and we'll see if that happens in the future. But like we spoke privately about it, that it seems a little cumbersome to do an episode about Nintendo for toys.
Well, I feel like if you do Nintendo, then that opens the gate to, well, what about Sega? Well, what about Sony? Well, what about this? It's not the purview of the show.
Not the purview of the show. keep it strictly toys, not
I'm not saying that there isn't lots of room for a spin-off series there, but I don't
the
think
games that made us.
if you do Nintendo, then I think you're opening up the potential to it very quickly losing the focus on toys and becoming a bunch of other things.
Sure, but the I guess it could be still as a strong brand, because all the episodes they've done are really brands. It's not just a singular toy; it's a whole line. And so maybe that's how they get away with it. It's a Nintendo brand. Here's what Nintendo put out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But yeah, it'd have to be a 2-part episode. They couldn't cover Nintendo in just one episode.
I think you'd be surprised.
They could get through it.
I think they could do it just fine. I don't
gloss over the Virtual Boy for a 30-second joke, and then you go into like
they've covered. I mean, they covered shit like Lego. I mean, that's massive. I'm not saying that you would do Nintendo in great detail in 45 minutes, but you could do it.
Okay. I would argue that Lego, though, up until a certain point in time, was more simplistic, and then when they started branching out in the late 90s with all the franchises, that's really when it took off. That's relatively recent in Lego's history. Remember, it was City, Knights, and Space for the first
I just think for the amount of
years.
Info they tend to convey, I think it would be natural to gloss over many points in Nintendo and just do a 45-minute episode.
Oh sure, but they actually produce toys obviously for a period of time. But that'd be the way they edit. They have a lot of sly little jokes. They can talk about the Love Motel real quick, and they can talk about the Pong machines before they get to like the 70s and things like that.
Yeah.
So they could probably do it. You're right. They could probably do it. But I actually really enjoyed the My Little Pony episode a lot more than I did because of the characters. That old woman that I loved that left the company right before My Little Pony became a hit.
I think that's one of my favorite episodes. Lego was definitely a good episode. Hello Kitty was a great episode. And the Turtles episode I like just because I like the Turtles.
And that was heartfelt, with Eastman and Laird sort of commiserating at the end. It was like almost like an extended episode, at least when you're watching. It's like, oh, this is really nice.
Yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about the in-between between the two. I will say this, though, that like through, the republication of the Mirage Run and stuff, like through Image and whatnot, you can tell something happened, but it always seems like, at least professionally, they're very respectful to each other.
Sure.
And it was even mentioned in the in the episode. Eastman seems to full well take blame for things that happened, which is good. Which is good.
He's like, I was younger. I was sort of He's 8 years younger. He was sort of out there, and so
sounds like it may not be fixable, but it sounds like they're both in a pretty healthy.
I kind of shed a tear. I'm not gonna lie. When they were sitting down and drawing together at the end, I'm like, that's how they started. I'm like, this is kind of heartfelt. Good for the toys that made us, going the extra mile to get them together and sort of meet up. That was heartfelt there. And the other thing that sort of kind of touched me, where I thought, is when they sold everything to Nickelodeon. When Peter Laird said, the only thing I said is I want to be able to keep the independent publishing. I was like, oh my god, that hit me. I was like, that touched me in a way I didn't understand, because that was still his baby. He wanted to be able to do something with it.
If he wants to independently publish the comics again, he can.
So maybe the two can get together and do it again. Who knows?
We'll see.
We got the 40th year anniversary coming up in a few years. So wow, that's kind of wow. Holy shit, 40 years.
I know.
Anyway, so what else is going on? Ian, Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the cards for me this week, just financially, but Vani went and she surprised me and bought me a copy. So I started playing it on Sunday. I've got 2 gym badges down. I think it's so far a perfectly fine game. It has its issues. It's not that it's without issues. It's not that the people who have complained about there being problems with it are wrong. Granted, most of that was done before anyone could play the game. But it's a bummer to lose the national decks. And I'm not going to go into all of that. Basically, in I would say all Pokemon games, with the exception of the original, someone will correct me, I'm sure, the original, I believe it was Ruby and Sapphire, you've been able to, through some means or another, work Pokemon that you had on previous games into the newer versions. So basically, you've been able to keep your team together for every single iteration. Losing something like that is big. It's a big part of Pokemon. But it's also, I don't think, as big of a part of Pokemon to everyone as the people who use it all the time see. It's not...
There's more casual Pokemon people that...
who buy the games and play through them, and that's it.
They're not as obsessed.
Yeah, they buy them, they play through it as an RPG, and that's the end of it. As much as I like Pokemon, I do admittedly fall into the latter category. I don't get too crazy about them. I try to, get as many Pokemon as I can for that dex. I don't do a lot of the transferring or anything like that. Still, it's a bummer to not have that option. The game, though, I love the design of it. I love the way the Galar region looks. It's supposed to look like the UK. It's very nice. There's a lot of meadows. The villages look nice. I like the way the gym battles feel. They feel like there's impact to them. In terms of just like the presentation, the Dynamax gimmick that they've added. The past few Pokemon games have added, little gimmicks during battle. This one involves your Pokemon growing to insane sizes. Doesn't really add anything or take away anything, in my opinion. To me, it feels like I'm playing Pokemon. And that's a good thing. The things that I would change with Pokemon that I would like to see change, it's a kid's game. There's a lot of repetition in look because it lets younger kids play a game and go, okay, I see this character. That character is a nurse. They're going to heal my Pokemon. That person's a shopkeeper. All the shopkeepers look the same. All the nurses look the same.
Like Lego people.
I actually kind of like some of the sameness of that. It creates this uniform feeling to it. It feels like a franchise. That said, I would love to see more character models of people, say, in the villages. I mean, I'm looking, and this has always been a problem. This is not a brand new thing, but you would hope to see that maybe evolve. Maybe I don't have to see the same old guy with a hat in 5 different skin colors and 5 different sweater colors, just endlessly cycled throughout the game. A little bit of variety in that regards wouldn't hurt anything. But yeah, otherwise, I'm enjoying it. And I didn't really want to talk about it, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, I was looking for things to glow about, and I was looking for things to like
be angry about.
And I found nothing. It's a Pokemon game, and yeah, there is that one big thing missing that is going to affect the hardcore. But I think otherwise, it's a good entry, and I really like the Pokemon designs that they've added to this one. I mean, I was seeing shit like literally there would be one person would one day be complaining about how there's too much focus on Gen 1 Pokemon, the first generation Pokemon, and then the same person a week later complaining because there's only one Generation 1 starter Pokemon represented. It gets to the point, like, there are people who are, like, taking videos of stuff and being like, this is insane, this game is just, I can't believe this was released to the public, and it's like, the problem, they need to take a video, then they need to zoom in on what they're trying to show, and then they need to circle it in red. That was literally a tweet. Someone was complaining about this insane glitch, and, like, you had to zoom in on a video and then circle it in red to point it out to people. There are people out there, lots of people, who just want to be fucking angry online.
Really, Ian?
And it's, yeah, well,
we've never been the brunt of that before.
And that's gross. I can't fucking deal with that. If that's how you want to live your life, fine. But it's absurd. Like, go ahead and make your complaints known. Don't be a fucking dick about it. The number one thing you can do is not buy the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Voting with your wallet? That's the thing?
Yeah, I've already seen people who complained about the game are playing it. So
they're supporting it.
So the one thing you could do to maybe affect change
is not buy it.
They're buying it anyways. They just want to be they want to be professionally angry all the time. And yeah, it's absurd. But go ahead, voice your concerns, but don't jump into the threads of people who are enjoying it and be like, but wouldn't it be better if this? Fuck off. I know what the problems are with the game. Don't try to ruin something for someone else that's where my problem lies.
Yes.
I literally saw someone I know who had been vocal with criticisms, but was like, I'm going to buy the game. It's probably going to be fine. I'm going to enjoy it despite these problems. And they buy it. And then someone jumped in and they bought it and they're talking about it online and they have a criticism and someone jumps in and is like, well, did you consider not buying it? And the person goes, their response was, no, it never occurred to me to not buy something that I wanted, because with all of its problems, it's still a game that is fun and playable. And the person's like, oh, okay, man, I just, I worry about people out there. It's like, you what? No, you just want to be a fucking asshole. You're not you're not waking up in the morning with this fucking grave sense of consumer duty to go out there and protect people. You just want to be a fucking dick.
Man, this game about pocket furry monsters, I gotta make sure people know the truth about it and don't buy it because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I guess there's people like that. I just can't identify that because I matured, I guess, at some point in my life where it's okay. Yeah, that's the one thing that was weird to me is that complaining about other people liking something. Yeah. That was like I couldn't wrap my head around that. Why would you complain about someone else enjoying something?
Like if you
how weird are you that you can't let someone enjoy something?
If you don't,
even if you don't
actively like Pokemon or you've been playing all of them and you're feeling burned out, you can probably skip this one for now or wait for a discount. But if you like Pokemon and you want to play more Pokemon, this game is a fine Pokemon game with some things cut that are unfortunate.
And maybe the next one will have all the furry creatures you know and love from 30 years ago.
But this is the other thing. I have a feeling that a lot of these complaints that people have about Pokemon, I think what they want is no longer a Pokemon game. At some point, changing too many things goes from making it a kid-friendly RPG that anyone can get into to something that is for stat heads and for people in love with spreadsheets.
They're all soft reboots too.
And it's fine. Like if that's what you want, that's also fine. But at some point, you have to reconcile the fact that Pokemon is not going to be the game. It's not going to be the dream game that you want as a 25-year-old. It's still trying to market itself to kids as well.
I think we have to.
There's a delicate balance here, and technical issues. Those are things that need to be worked on. You can get a bit more variety in the look. You can tighten up the frame rate, but some things that people want are not going to.
I think we have to establish like we're talking about stuff that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and that we see people get worked about.
I saw people bitching about the EXP share, which is like if a Pokemon, like the Pokemon that wins, like some EXP will be sent to other Pokemon. People complaining about where it says what moves are effective. Like this is just streamlining of a game. These are things that probably would have been in the older versions, but they're like, oh no, they're kidifying it. They're making it too easy. It's a fucking game for kids.
Well, that's the thing, though. But these are kids that are now 40 years old that are still.
That's what I know. That's what I mean. Like, you need to take a deep breath and realize that you can still enjoy these things. You can enjoy things that are marketed at kids. It's fine. Nintendo's really good at making things enjoyable for all ages,
family friendly.
But no, they're not going to go back and purposely take out quality of life enhancements because you think it's not fucking hardcore enough.
Oh, okay, that's kind of weird.
You sound like a fucking asshole when you say shit like that.
I think we have to institute. Like, I was trying to think about what's a good barometer of whether or not your complaints really rate in the grand scheme of things. How about the diner test? I was thinking about like, say you have like your 58-year-old grizzled waitress Flo comes up to you and you're ordering food and she starts jotting down, and in the middle of it you reveal something to her that's been bothering you or something that's affecting you. It could be something like, my girlfriend just left me. She'd probably stop and go, oh, that's a shame, sweetie. I'm sorry. Or if you say, oh, I just found out my dog, we got to put the dog down. Oh, that's terrible, hon. I'm so sorry. She'll stop. If you say to Flo, who's been working the 12-hour shift, my specific pocket monster I loved from 15 years ago isn't in this new iteration of the game, she probably would still continue to write down your tuna salad order. She probably would not flinch.
No, she's not going to. She doesn't know what to say to that.
She'd be like, oh, okay, and keep going. And maybe that's the way to think about things.
It's okay to be upset with a product release that you were looking forward to. It's not okay to be a huge fucking asshole about it online.
I think that's what we have to keep talking about. And maybe the angry mobs will eventually, one by one, they'll just relax and
it's okay to not buy or support things that you don't like either. But here's something: if that's what you're going to do, then actually do it. Because I have no sympathy for anyone who fucking complains up and down and then buys it.
Yeah. Or the same thing with movies. If you think a movie's coming out that looks like crap, then don't see it. I don't see movies I don't waste money in movies to yell about them. I didn't go see. I love G.I. Joe, Ian. I did not pay to see that piece of garbage. Because just to bitch about it. I didn't.
I think people forget that there's like there's middle grounds that exist, and middle grounds can make a lot of people happy. You don't have to love it and be I'm going to buy everything Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
You don't have to be, corporate overlords, I'll buy whatever you want. No, that's not what we're saying.
And I'm also not saying that if you have complaints, you can't buy the game and enjoy it. But I think people who have mild complaints about a game or criticism and buy it and enjoy it realize that they can still enjoy it, but maybe not as much as they were hoping to.
Sure.
Like, things have flaws. Nothing is perfect.
Nothing is perfect.
But if you're going to spend 6 months online fucking crying about it, then don't buy it.
You probably have a really good life then at that point, if that's the one thing you're bitching about.
Because I haven't seen sales, and even if they've dipped, I don't think Game Freak or Nintendo are hurting here. So, it's a vocal minority. I don't think we're seeing that translated to an actual backlash.
And obviously, don't go after the developers. That's insane.
Yeah, please don't go after the developers. It's not a single person who's sitting there making decisions, trying to fucking ruin your life. Especially for a game like this, it's a group of like 200 fucking people.
Dozens and dozens of people that, just relax. I mean, just, come on, man. Come on. Take a CBD gummy. Relax.
Yeah. Well, there was someone online, bitching and calling, these people lazy and this and the next thing. And someone goes, do me a favor, pull up the Pokemon game, watch the credits, and you single out the person that needs to be called lazy.
Come on. Real quick, Ian, about COPPA, which is basically the laws are putting in place to protect children from online content. I have not been the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act from 1998. Now they're trying to obviously institute with YouTube. And I haven't been keeping track of this as much as I probably should, since I don't do content that could be construed as kid-friendly. But there are people online that do. Like our pal Pixel Dan does toy reviews, which aren't for kids, but he might be caught in this maelstrom of protecting these kids by deeming his channel for kids when it's not, and then he might get in trouble if he says something's not for kids when they think it is for kids. And it's a mess right now in terms of them sort of dealing with this potential issue that they're trying to fast track, because YouTube has done horrible in the past protecting children from content that's targeted towards them in a nefarious way, whether it's potential pedophile rings showing kids doing fucking cartwheels or jumping jacks and shit like that. That was reported, things of that nature, or those stupid Spider-Man impregnating Elsa videos that fortunately Disney shut the hell down a couple years ago. YouTube's always been behind the ball and reactionary when it comes to big issues, when it comes to advertising, when it comes to protecting children, when it comes to, this isn't surprising, but now it's really becoming a bigger issue with specific channels and channels like Chadtronic getting in trouble where they lock down comments on videos for no reason, which hurts you in the algorithm. You can't see it. So they're screwing with people. And YouTube can do their own things, but it has to do with the transparency and how their reactions are usually with an axe and not a scalpel. And that's the issue people have with YouTube. They're like, oh, we wait, like with the advertisers. Well, we waited so long with remember the copyright thing where Angry Joe was complaining about years back. It's like, we did nothing, and now we'll demonetize all these videos instead of having in between steps between doing nothing and doing something. That's what YouTube's horrible at, and I still don't understand how this happens. So check out Dan's video. He did a good video about it. Pixel Dan, our pal Pixel Dan, did about this, and this is going to go into effect relatively soon with potential things like the FTC entitled to seek $42,000 fines for each mislabeled video. So if you label something not for kids when it really is, it's ridiculous. The stuff that's coming down the pipe here. People are going to wonder, how do they comply with COPPA laws? And it's not good. I know in the past these things have worked themselves out over time. This to me seems like it could be more dangerous than like people claiming copyright, because this is could potentially shut down entire channels,
right?
Versus just claiming ad revenue. So I guess we'll see how this plays out. There's still time to, I guess, petition the FTC and the people looking into these things and laws to make sure that this isn't just one fell swoop. They'll just end the channel or get our pal Dan in trouble because he's reviewing action figures that 40-year-old men are collecting.
Well, I mean,
it's not for kids.
Apparently, they can sue.
Yeah, it's not a fun time if you're a content creator in general. It just isn't with YouTube. The algorithm's not in the favor of, we'll just say, well-produced content anymore. It's more about what's the hot topic versus a brand-driven content and personality-driven content. There's our exceptions, of course. I'm talking about in general. So, all right, we'll look into it. It's something for obviously that the general person won't have to worry about, but it will affect people we know potentially there. And real quick, of course, the certain Super Nintendo guidebook is available at ultimatenintendo.com alongside the NES guidebook, and it should be up on Amazon any day now. If Amazon gets their act together and helps out Pat here. And I forgot to mention, Ian, I just recorded the director's commentary. I haven't mentioned a huge amount recently. I director's commentary.
You did that on Saturday or Sunday?
On Sunday, I recorded the Blu-ray commentary with the director for the Not for Resale video game store documentary. So that's gonna go to press hopefully soon, and then we're hoping, cross the fingers, that in December it'll be available on Amazon Video on Demand to either rent or purchase. That's the plan there.
Excellent.
And it's fun. You haven't really seen it yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I've seen the trailer, and that was that.
You like the trailer? Yeah, it'll be a fun little documentary, and I think already there's already a big convention next year lined up to screen it. So we're excited there. All right, we're gonna start with this podcast. All right.
What do we have? I mean, we call it an intro, but it's not. It's the first 3 topics.
That's right.